Today's video is brought to you in part by Ridiculous Top 10s. Do you like ridiculous things? Do you like supporting YouTube channels? Do you have 90 seconds to spare? If you answered yes to any of these questions, check out youtube.com/at Ridiculous Top 10s. Good afternoon, my Dungeon Boss brethren. We're here with another Fad Friday. We're going to take a look at the man, the myth, the machine, the construct, the legend that is Agnon. Agnon used to be one of my favorites. You wouldn't know that, historically speaking, I guess, unless you watch some of my old content. I actually looked back at some of my old videos. I found the unboxing of him. Fun fact, I actually got Agnon early, as an early release. I got him 10 tokens the day before he was actually released because I was a VIP member at the time. So a little nod to the devs there for giving me a sneak peek of this guy. His character art and stuff has not changed. His abilities stayed the same. All that changed really is the numbers and how the debuffs function. But yeah, he was released like 6 years ago as a, in my opinion, a direct result of coming after Gortusk. Gortusk is not currently in the game. We've seen him kind of prowling around in the Winterfest event. He was a event boss in one of the dungeons, but basically an Uber tank that just stopped everything. He was hard to kill, and he was part of an impenetrable beast team at the time. Agnon comes along and basically one shots Gortusk, and people are like, "Hey, what am I supposed to do without my Gortusk tank team now?" Pairing together, Gortusk, Leo, Solaris. Basically, there's just this, beast team that kept on reviving itself over and over, and you'd lose your war of attrition. Agnon comes in and says, "Hey, I'll see your beast team and I'll raise you instant kill on the opening turn." My experience so far in Respawn is that he's not quite as good. Part of that is because his opening one does a fixed amount of damage at 3 times, versus in the past I think it scaled more considerably and got up to like 5 and 6 times the amount of damage depending on how much health they had. But that's neither here nor there. So Agnon is a construct and he is a warrior. He is a bit of an anomaly, if you ask me, because he is such a widely used hero right now. Very popular, by all accounts, a very good hero. But his stat loadout is just so mediocre. It's one of those things where how do we quantify intangibles? Because damn, does this guy have intangibles that you just can't put a number on. So on paper, he looks like he's just kind of and then you get into fights with him, or you go against him in PvP, and all of a sudden, here comes Terror Storm, and your guys are all running away. So in the past, Terror Storm did fear, but fear just amplified damage back then. It didn't give you any random chance at any time that your guy could run away. I mean, that's some hardcore stuff. So I know it only lasts 2 turns, but 2 turns in PvP that's everything. I mean, most of the matches barely last 2 turns as it is. So let's go ahead and look at his overall stat sheet here. Overall, nothing really assuming. He's got 5 traits. One of them is going to be flying right from the start because he's a flying person. That only gives 4 unique traits to Agnon. So by all accounts, for being a gold hero, I believe he is. Let me backtrack one spot. He's a gold hero. So being a gold hero, you'd expect he's got some nifty mechanics, and his mechanics truly are in his traits. So the stats be damned, his traits are what make Agnon Agnon. So as we said, flying, definitely that's his standard trait. 25% less from melee attacks. So many heroes have that as it is. Next up, he's got Pwn Tanks. This is deal 25% damage to tank class enemies. So that's a standard bonus right there. 25% extra towards tanks. That's just on any basic attack. Throw that against light tanks, and you're looking at a pretty good elemental advantage. He's going to make fairly quick work of them. He's living stone, which is just basically gives him immunities to some debuffs. Plus, generically receives 5% less damage. Just overall, just a free 5% damage mitigation. So, um, kudos, right? But basically, being unable to be debuffed makes him even more powerful because um, he's got such utility as it is. And the funny thing is, his attacks are so weak as it is. I guess he would need this protection from debuffs anyway, so that he doesn't do even weaker attacks. And we'll get into that in just a little bit here. Next up is the Dark Skies. Flying allies deal an additional 50% to 9 flying enemies. We don't get a lot of flying synergy in very many pieces here. So you could combine him with Lorelei, make everybody flying. You get basically damage and a half to all non-flyers, which there's obviously way more non-flyers than flyers. You'd have to obviously make that work for you. I'm trying to dream of a team where there's Agnon and Lorelei. The two of them together, you could probably pair a lot of different people with that team. I just don't know who that would ultimately be. Might end up, honestly being Rayla and Jin for the most part and stick with mostly a light team. Um, but I'll just play around with that, or we'll ultimately get to one of those types of setups when I start looking into PvP strategies further down the line on the channel. Once we get more subs, more views, further into the game, more players in the game, where we have a demand for that sort of content. Then lastly, his marquee trait is the Granite Gargoyle. So he starts the dungeon in granite form. This you physically cannot put a price on this. This essentially means Agnon is unkillable. I've never once seen Agnon be killed in the first round. It just seems physically impossible. You'd have to put out so much damage on an attack. It's just not possible. So you could throw everything you have at him with your highest damage, and you're only going to chip away just a little bit. So notice you can't dodge, can't be charmed, have debuffs applied, and then you can't steal, copy, or purge this thing. So he's unkillable. So what that ultimately means, Agnon's getting his first attack off every single time without question. So he is always getting his trait off, or his attack. He's always going to be able to do his first ability, which is that plummeting doom. So when you use Agnon, it's basically how and when and why are you going to use plummeting doom. So most of the time when you're using him on PvP attack, you want him to actually attack somebody. So he's probably going to go after a tank based on his trait there to do more damage to tanks, as well as how plummeting doom works. We'll circle back around to that in just a little bit here. His base stats. Take a look at his base stats. Basically, no greens whatsoever. No bonuses to attack, no bonuses to defense or skill, and his health is by all accounts just absolutely atrocious. I know once he gets a 6-star that will increase, but we're still only looking at maybe adding. In this case here, the star bonus is 60%. It's going to be 100% for 6 stars. That's still only going to put his max health at 7,200. I mean, that's compared to like Nub Nub, for example, who has over 10,000. I mean, just he's almost like your prototypical glass cannon, except for he doesn't put out the damage to match that. So he's very peculiar in that front. That if he's not in granite form, you may as well kiss his little rock hard, bottom goodbye. Because that's how I feel about it. He's easy to kill in a lot of capacity because he just doesn't have much health. Um, and if I offend anybody by saying that Agnon is easy to kill, I mean it figuratively speaking. And he's not always easy to kill because he's always in granite. He always has helpers. But all things considered, if you do good damage, 5,000 health here, it's nothing. I mean, you should be able to churn through that pretty good with a good DPS team. All right, let's look at his abilities. So this is where we start to really get into that mediocrity and wonder how the heck can we use this guy effectively? Like how is he anything when we get these kinds of numbers here? So his basic attack, 822. Where does that fall on the spectrum? Surprisingly, much to my surprise, out of all the people that I've reviewed so far, everybody hovers around that 50% of your attack rating. That's usually the mark, with a few other people who are strong attackers having less than that, their basic attack doing less than their, pairing with their um, attack rating or strength rating. Um, but Agnon does 53% of his attack rating. So about half of that, just over half of that, which is more than just about anybody else. So his basic attack actually does more of his base attack rating than anybody that I've reviewed so far, and I find that kind of interesting. The sheer numbers on Terror Storm are laughable. It may as well do no damage at all because it really is. It's horrible because it only does 394. That 394 um, is it's nothing. It's a very very low number. So that 394 is I'm sorry, I skipped Plummeting Doom. We'll stick with Terror Storm for a second here. That 394 is less than half of the attack rating. So it doesn't hit everybody. So that's the one thing with Terror Storm. Terror Storm does not hit everybody. That's a misconception. Just when you use it, it looks like an AOE because a lot of time it does hit just about everybody, but it is not an AOE at all. So you pick who it's going to hit. So you do get to target, and then it's 4 random after that. So it's boom, 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 boom. So some people might get hit a couple of times, and then that might leave the one person that you were hoping gets feared to not get feared. So you're at the whim of if there's any type of tanks out there that are taunting, he doesn't have immunity to taunt, so you're going to be forced to target that one person if you're not able to get around that. You're not able to get around it. So it can be a little bit finicky in that it doesn't hit everybody, but more often than not, you're looking at 2 or 3 people that are getting hit with that thing and that fear being put on them. Where this one ultimately does shine is if you happen to have Agnon late in the match. Single target damage on this is really nice. You're looking at 400, 400, 400, 400. That actually brings us up pretty good to his attack rating. He's looking at 1600 there for his attack, but this 390 is only half of his basic attack. It's so low as it is. Like I said, in a bubble, it basically should be nothing. But that fear debuff is serious business here. So, like I said, in the past, fear used to provide amplified damage, used to provide 3 times the damage, which truthfully I liked better because fear back then it made your entire team just super scary because 3 times damage from anybody is usually a killer. But in this case here, it just provides a random chance, not really random, but mostly random chance. It's essentially percent chance to run away, and that percent increases as they get less and less health. So they're far more likely to run away if they're, let's say, at 10% health than if they were at 90% health. When you're doing PvP attacks, um, you don't get this off very often anyways, so by the time you actually do get it off, there's actually probably a high chance that they would run away because you're looking at that cooldown of 4 turns. Surviving for 4 turns in a PvP match, especially one that's equally matched, is going to be very, very, very challenging. On PvP defense, he whips this out on the second turn. At that point, he is already gone, as well as 3 other people all in one turn. The turn one, if you will, the terror storm at that point is absolutely brutal. Like anytime Agnon is alive on turn two, I'm almost always chalking that up as a loss because terror storm at that point, depending on the team he's on, is absolutely crippling based on all the people that have gone so far. Unless you're looking at, let's say, Bauble and Furnace, who don't innately do a ton of damage themselves, so maybe you still have some health left. But even so, just the fear aspect alone and not the damage is, like I said, crippling for a PvP attack against him. All right, so let's go back to Plummeting Doom. So Plummeting Doom is Agnon's marquee ability in terms of his high damage output. Every single one of the heroes we've had for the most part has had that one attack that's about 2.5 times their basic attack. So in this case here, this is just under 2.5 times his basic attack. It's at 2054. Provides stunned. Stunned is a great debuff to have. Prevents them from basically using abilities or gaining energy. Anybody that's stunned, if you've ever been stunned and you need to bust out a heal or something like that, stun can be a match ender as well. So great ability right from the start. It's got high damage and essentially crowd control. Basically the combination of stun and the high damage and the 3 times to armored target basically is going to force you to determine how and when you want to use him, because you need to determine if you're going to try and one shot a tank with him, or do you want to use it for stun, because using it for stun, if you're using it on some sort of a slow hero, you're going to be able to get that off before your opponent, and then they're not going to be able to do something, do their abilities or whatever it might be. So you do have a choice to make when you're actually using this. All things considered, my goal is usually to try and hit the 3 times damage on armored targets. An armored tank is obviously the one that you want to go on the most. But that said, there's not a lot of armored targets. I mean, there are plenty of armored people out there. They don't get used in PvP that much, so that's the problem. So you're not going to get that 3 times damage every single time. So that stun might start to look more and more attractive as you go along. So choice that you got to make. We're gonna look at that in a little bit when we jump into a PvP match. We're just gonna do one fun one just for the sake of doing it. And then lastly, his hardened assault is probably his most marquee ability, not his high damage one, but this is definitely his marquee ability. In that it turns him back into granite form. Once you get back to granite form, again, you're unkillable again. So if you're able to get this off, you're unkillable, but it's got a 5-turn cooldown, so PvP attack, you're not seeing it too often without some major energy regeneration. It is nice that it provides a stack of weaken. It's only 1 stack of weaken, but keep in mind that it does hit more than once. So you pick the target and you get 2 additional ones. Not at random, but the enemies with the highest defense. So basically random, but you can kind of control where it's going to go if you want to try and spread out the weakened piece. The suggestion would be to attack somebody that is lower in health and defense, so that he's going to be forced to switch targets when he actually does that. Get a couple of stacks of weakened out there. That's nice. It lowers their ability to attack and crit. Doesn't save you a ton, but it's still something. Any damage mitigation is always approved. But in this case here, the granite form is why you're using this ability, and you know that's what makes it super cool. Um, so that said, he's a nifty little hero. I'm not gonna lie about that. Like I said, we can't really quantify how good he is, because his numbers, his attack rating in terms of comparatively speaking towards his star level and level, is middle of the road. We're talking like rank 30 out of 72. His defense is a little bit better. It's like in the top 15. That's pretty reasonable. Skill I didn't look at, and health is again way down towards the bottom and in the middle. He's just very unassuming when you look at his raw numbers. We'll see if those actually improve when he gets towards level 80 and 6 stars along with other people. But for now, like I said, the numbers are just, they're a facade. They don't mean much. But let's go ahead and do a PvP match. I have one picked out that I want to do just to just for fun. I don't expect to win, but I'm gonna try to. I'm picking it because it's an all light team. It's a Rayla team. They're just a little bit underpowered compared to me. As far as star levels go, where mine are all 5 stars. What I'm gonna try to do is to see if I can get Terror Storm up, because I want to just blast a lot of them with Terror Storm, and I think that would be awesome. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try and, I guess, survive that opening salvo. I mean, they're going to hit hard. So everybody but Agnon will likely die because of how this is going to work. So we're going to put Agnon in the first position, so I at least get his attack off. Now I could leave him to the end and force everyone else to do their turns, but I actually want to get 1 turn off with him, so you know how it is. I'm going to try and remove the silence. I'm going to remove the silence aspect by putting Craw in there. Craw should give everybody a stack of foresight to mitigate that. And then I just need one other person at that point. It doesn't really matter who it is. I want to pick somebody that could possibly survive. I don't want to try and cheat by putting my own Rayla or my own Jin in there because I just want to be, want it to be. It is what it is. We've proven in a different video that Iris is supposed to be able to soak a Rayla attack, so we'll put her in there just for the sake of doing so. Um, so what we're gonna do with this at level, we have Agnon versus um, Dagon. That's what I ultimately want to do because I got elemental advantage and I got that armored thing, whatever it's called. It's not called Pone armor, but whatever it is. Um, okay, maybe Iris could soak a attack from Rayla at level, but certainly not here. So I'd have to go back to my other video to see what I was thinking when I did that. But Echo got to do his thing. The whole reason I brought Echo was to um, charge up the Terror Storm. Is Echo fast? He is fast. I wasn't expecting that. I was gonna have Echo go after Agnon, but that's cool. So level 60 against level 60, the inspired stack does just heals. So that Dagon is 4 stars to my 5 stars. Elemental advantage 3 times toward armored. Truthfully, I would be shocked if this doesn't kill him. If this doesn't kill him, then gosh, I'm gonna be mad. I'll be mad for starters, but that's what it is. I turn the speed down now so we can see what the actual number is, and then if we want to, we can go back and maybe look at what his health roughly is. I mean, I have him at 5 stars, so I'd be able to estimate here, but um, 60 on 60, 5 star versus 6 star. Elemental advantage 3 times to armored, plus 25 to tanks. He's not a tank. 10,177. Now that is textbook Agnon. That is why you use Agnon for jabronis like Dagon because he just got absolutely stuffed, and I find that to be awesome. Now, is everyone going to be like that? No, we did have the elemental advantage, but that's what I like to do. Um, Coming in from here, Rayla's going to do her thing now, I think, and go invincible. If not, I plan to terror storm a lot of them if I can. Okay, I am not going to terror storm a lot of them, but it's cool. Really, all I wanted to do was show the Agnon versus Dagon, and we see it did 10,000, which is awesome. Um, we're going to look at my own Dagon just as a comparison to see what that health pool is like, as well as the defense. So probably didn't pick the best supporting cast, but like I said, I wasn't planning on winning that one. So Dagon at 53 has only 5,000 health, so we did twice as much health. So their Dagon likely did not have even 5,000 health. That was going to be a kill no matter what. So there's probably not many people of any capacity that have 10,000 health. So yeah. But that's Agnon. He's got some great utility. You see him on PvP defense. He's no stranger there. He shows up. I'm sure everybody here has had their run-in with Terror Storm. It's brutal against an Agnon team in PvP attacks, and it's hard to get off on your own. Like if I would have had a better team on my end, like a true healer, like Nub Nub for example, probably could have kept my team alive to the point where I could have gotten Terror Storm up on would have been turn 3, I think, or unless I use some other way to get the energy back. But let me know what you think about Agnon. If you have any secret tips or tricks or synergies. I did look around for some stuff. I didn't see anything immediately other than, like I said, the cross stuff where he gets foresight. But I didn't do a real deep dive in terms of who he's all tied to and who he doesn't work well with. But that's going to wrap up today's episode of FADD Friday. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, give it a like, and maybe go back to the old unboxing video. I put it in the description. I put it in the description of this video so you can watch it for nostalgia purposes. Kind of compare them, and get a sense of what my old videos were like. Anyways, have a great weekend, everybody. I got a special video coming for you tomorrow, Off the Beaten Path. It's been a couple of weeks coming now, so hope you enjoy that one too. Otherwise, we will see you again next Tuesday for another edition of Tower Tuesday. Take care, everybody. Bye bye. Thank you for watching, and remember, I make YouTube videos for the American working man, because that's what I am, and that's who I care about.